All right, I'm Tim Ray. I'm sitting here with Dr. Amy Dairies, and today we have a great show on integrative dentistry, just what we all want to know. Also, I want to say one thing. There you go. I want to say one thing to our WDJY listeners, 99.1 out there. You guys are awesome. I'll tell you what, you guys are growing every day, and I'm just so glad to be part of the team here, and thank you for letting us in and hearing what we have to say, and hearing what I have to bloviate on any given day. So thank you, and wow, dentistry. Before we get too far into it, and I do a formal introduction of this very special guest. In fact, she's a returning guest, aren't you, Doc?
I get to be a returning guest.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
are. Wow. She must have done something good the first time around then. I don't know. Maybe she just put a cap in my mouth. I think that was helpful. Hey, by the way, I brought my retainer because it doesn't fit my mouth now. So
Oh, we'll
with
have
my new
to
cap.
see about that.
Oh yeah, I figured you could take it home with you.
We'll see.
All right, we're gonna have a great show. First thing, let me mention, I guess one thing real quick about the Life. It's the Conscious Life Expo coming up in LA. I'll be out there tomorrow. I think tomorrow Wednesday, and out in LA, and meeting. Oh God, I don't know who we have set up to meet, but I know Kelly Gallagher, my partner in Gem and Planet, has everything all set up. One thing I think will be riding some motorcycles off of Malibu Beach there. That's one thing I'm looking forward to.
Oh man, I'm jealous.
I know, right? I'll
Man,
tell you what.
next
Well,
time.
I have to thank Kelly for that. But also, we have our panel. We have a panel of radio hosts and networks. I think on Sunday at the Conscious Life Expo. So if you're out there, you plan on going, check us out. Kelly Gallagher is hosting it, and I think there's 5 or 6 different radio personalities and hosts out there, and we'll be talking about paradigm shifting, what it is to paradigm shift, and what does it actually mean. What are we doing? And I'm so excited, looking forward to talking to people just in generally about that, because I'm kind of not so much new to it. I've probably been doing it all my life, but I just never really recognized it on changing things and putting yourself out there to be a paradigm shifter and facing those fears, facing this. It's scary, guys. It's scary when you have to go out and you speak with your truth, whatever your truth is to you, because everyone has their own truth, right? It's like the giant prism of truth, and you're coming from one angle, and that's all that you know. So it is. It's great because it's timely. I think for not only for me, but I think for millions of others who are really looking forward to finding their purpose, finding their. You have life coaches popping up everywhere. You have people who are just tired of the pretentiousness of life, and I call it being caught into the matrix reality. And once you unplug from that matrix reality into the higher reality, let's say, it's fun. You maybe you're eating goop. You're not eating the steaks like you used to in the Matrix. You're eating the goop, but it's still healthier for you, right?
Absolutely. Definitely.
Morpheus.
That's right.
But hey, listen, I'd rather have the truth. I'd rather the truth, even though it may be painful. I'd rather have the truth than anything. That's the most important thing to me. So check it out. Go to Life Conscious Expo, I think .com. You could see that and get your tickets if you haven't already, and we'll see you in LA in a little bit. Next thing I want to mention real quick here too is our Imagine If program. We are just booming it. Jennifer has it rocking and rolling. We have a new site coming up. I think it's imagineifprogram.org. You can go check that out. It has its own special website. And it's just wonderful information, sharing with kids that the thoughts create the reality, that they could change their experience by changing their perception from first grade to 12th grade. And it's a great SEL program, 5 modules, very simple to overlap in your education system, whether it's homeschool, private, or public. And it's just incredible. In fact, one of the reason why we're going out to LA, I don't know if you knew this, Wahid, but we're going out to LA is to meet with a couple of people, some bigwigs out there. So I think an ex-senator or ex-representative, and who's going to maybe help us get it through the system in there. California's pretty progressive in reference to SEL programs, as well as doing some more master trainings with a gal from Oakland, out there in California. And I think we have a kind of multi-purposeful trip here, which only makes sense to me as a business person. You got to have multiple reasons to do one thing, right? Or no? Is that just my entrepreneurial tainted side coming out? Could be. I don't know. But so check it out. We're going to have a great time out there. And the Imagine If program is one of a kind programs. No one else has done this before. It's showing kids how the thoughts create the reality. Come on. Can we hear a round of applause for that? Come on. Thoughts create your reality. Come on. Imagine if you knew that, Amy, at your age, at first grade.
At first grade,
Yeah.
that would have been cool.
Right? Think
Yeah.
what we'd be doing. You probably would be running the dentistry for the whole world right now. You probably over there in I don't know, Bangladesh somewhere. I don't know.
Only
where
if
you.
that's what I had envisioned I wanted to do.
Oh, look at that. She's already trying to create a reality, taking ownership of that. Look at that. Wow, I'm impressed. So let me tell you about this sassy woman over here who is the dentist of the stars. I think you are because, maybe not stars that you may think in Hollywood, but I think a very special people come to you because you create a frequency at your office, and she's integrating her dentistry office. I mean, and thousands of others and millions of others are doing that too across the world. So we're going to be talking about that today. And what does that mean? What does that mean to integrate your office or dentist office, and why is she doing it? Why is she doing it now? We're going to talk to her about that. So Dr. Amy Darius has practiced general dentistry in Roswell, Georgia, which one of my favorite places. That's where our office is too. You're not too far away from us, are you?
No, just down the road.
Just down the road, as they say. In Georgia, since 1996, she has studied the current research on many complementary alternative medicine techniques, herbal medicine, which we'll be talking about, health, through diet and nutrition, which is so critical, right? It doesn't get much play as much as it needs to.
Right.
Vitamin supplements. She's very interested in sharing this with others and how lifestyle choices can affect not only the aging process, but your teeth, which I consider the control panels of the organs. And I think a lot of people are not mentioning, or they don't recognize the meridians. Our Western culture doesn't recognize our electromagnetic, energetic, bioenergetic self. They only take into account the chemical responses. A lot of European, Eastern cultures understand that we are electromagnetic beings, and we have energy not only around us but within us. We're vibrating at certain hertz, frequencies in our cells, in our atoms, and that's all part of the healing process too. And this integrative aspect, which you're getting into, I would assume, deals with this electromagnetic aspect of being a human being with our teeth.
It does. It does. Well said, everything you've said so far.
Really?
I think it starts with an intention,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things. And your own personal healing journey starts with an intention that you want to heal. Letting go of a lot of emotional baggage, we know that helps you heal as well. We know that certain chemicals get released and can actually still be in your bloodstream 20, 30 years afterwards. For instance, adverse childhood experiences. I believe that can play a role, for instance, in periodontal disease. Finding out what your inflammation level is, it really transmits back to what your history was.
So you're saying like your experiences, your traumatic, let's say a traumatic experience, can not only create an emotional response, but also toxins through biochemicals, toxins through your body, and they get placed somewhere in tissues in your body?
Correct. Interleukin 6 is one of those chemicals.
Oh, wow.
And it can be transmitted and continue in your bloodstream, in your cell system, 20, 30 years after an event from childhood.
That's incredible. And I was just thinking like Mercury. Mercury never goes away, right? The Mad Hatter disease. But you're saying just emotional traumatic responses can create, like you said, those type of I don't know, enzymes, hormones, or biochemicals that stays in your body for decades.
Yes, and it impacts how you digest your food. It impacts how you store your fat, how you use sugar. It impacts your stress response and your ability to react to a stressful response going forward. And it will actually contribute to you carrying an inflammation load you did not have before.
So, when a lot of these integrated docs that, I hate that you missed the Doctors Who Rock last year in November, but you come in next year, right?
I'm coming this
You
coming
guarantee you're coming next year?
2018, I promise.
All right. That, one of the common themes, it was just amazing to me, because I'm kind of new to the party here with integrated medicine, maybe a couple of years in. And almost every doctor, I mean, I'm talking about cardiologists, Sinatra, Cowden, I'm talking about, all different types of doctors, Dr. Bush, Mercola. Almost every one of them came up and they mentioned, they mentioned the teeth, they mentioned the dentistry, they mentioned how important the teeth are to our healing process. And I really never understood that the teeth are the control panels of our organs, of our body, because I never understood the meridian connection between each individual tooth has a meridian connection to a certain organ in your body.
This is something that we in Western medicine are still trying to understand. It's still, we don't understand it. We see that there is a connection. We see that it has been mapped out and trusted by other cultures for thousands of years, but we don't necessarily understand this yet.
Yeah, I know. And here we're doing all these surgeries and things that we don't even understand. This is a great example to an understanding. We just had Kelly Gallagher started a new show called Jam and Planet Paradigm Shifters here. And she just had her first guest was Fran Drescher. You know who she is? Drescher.
Yes.
You know who she is? The nanny. Talks like very
voice.
annoying. Yeah. And she was, wow, she's really advanced in integrative medicine. I had no idea. But she talked about this one aspect that, our appendix, how, nonchalant we are with taking our appendix out. She says our appendix is the brain of our lymphatic system.
That's what some doctors feel. Some integrative GI specialists do think that it does make sense that it would have a purpose. We've always thought, well, maybe it doesn't have a purpose anymore,
Right.
evolutionary speaking. But I think there's so much we just don't understand yet. If you were born with it, I believe you should probably keep it.
It's like, just take it out. We don't understand it. It's just, you don't need it. So since we don't understand it, just take it out. But I mean, just think about that. Our lymphatic system is our final guard to our immune system. And our immune system is under attack every day with toxins, mercury. I mean, the chemtrail, everything. Everything's we're being toxified. I use that word all the time. And here we are taking out the brain of our immune system to try to keep us in check. This seems like insane, right? But it happens more than we realize.
It does. So you've brought up mercury a few times. What
Yeah.
would you like to talk about that? That's a hot topic in
Yeah,
dentistry.
I think mercury is a great thing, right? Mercury is we use it for, it's a metal, right? We use it for our thermometers, right? What else do we use mercury for?
Well, we used to.
We don't anymore.
to.
Oh man, poor mercury. No, but honestly, mercury is very poisonous, and it's been put into people's teeth for decades now, right? For the fillings.
This is an issue in dentistry because we have certain factions that this is what we were trained to do, and it was at that time our best technology, and it was tried and true. And the fillings, we're talking about amalgam fillings, and they're about half mercury. And the rest of it, the focus in dental school for us was the rest of it. And the rest of it was 65% silver, 10 to 15% copper, about 5% zinc. And the mercury was simply downplayed as a catalyst. At that time, and I got out in the early 90s, we didn't have as strong of materials that were tooth colored, that were aesthetic. They would break down much more readily. The point of the silver, you've probably heard of colloidal silver used in other healing methods for skin lesions, for example, or you can adjust it. The silver is antibacterial. So that was the reason that
Silver
it was
dye,
used.
that's why they use it for healing wounds and things. Yeah.
Yes, it was very appreciated as a restorative material because that was the best we had. But now our resins have evolved. There are still some chemicals in some of our resins. We can go BPA free, but there are still other resins.
What's BPA?
Bisphenol A. It's a plastic. It's in plastics, and if you look at the bottom of your plastic recyclables, it'll have a number on there, and you can get rid of the ones that are BPA.
Gotcha.
So you have a whole industry wrapped around BPA.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah. That we don't even know of until right now. Thank you for filling me in on that.
So what the current research seems to still support, and I do try to look at it objectively from all different kinds of sources, is that the mercury that might be emitted from your fillings, the most of it will be in the first 5 years or so that a filling has been placed. It doesn't mean that it stops magically at the 5-year mark, and how much it releases is going to be dependent on your diet. If you have something that's warm, if you have a lot of friction on your teeth or you grind your teeth, or if you have a more acidic sort of diet, there's going to be more released, and it's always in your body.
Okay, so what are the repercussions of mercury poisoning? I mean, why is it so deadly to us?
Well, this is something I've been exposed through the workplace and through other hobbies.
You had mercury poisoning.
I did. I had mercury and lead poisoning a number of years ago now.
Symptoms are?
It can be all over the place. That's also one of the reasons it's hard to diagnose. But if you've had, maybe I say it this way, if you've had a history of amalgam fillings in your mouth, and for some reason you find that you are sick and you can't figure out why, and you keep going from doctor to doctor to doctor, different types of doctors, and you keep getting told that you're okay, maybe you want to consider, do I have any heavy metal exposure in my life? If you have a mercury toxic level, you're also going to absorb lead at about 100 times the amount, any lead that you get exposed to. So it impacts mercury. Any mercury you have in you is going to impact your enzyme function, how you absorb things through your gut. It does have a predilection for brain tissue and for gut tissue.
So does it affect our neurological system?
It does. That's the reason you mentioned earlier the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
It's a character from Alice in Wonderland, and because they used to use mercury to cure the hats and colonial times and in the hat industry. So a lot of the hatters would become a little bit crazy over time. So in my personal
There's
experience,
always truth to every myth out there, isn't there? My gosh.
in personal experience, it for me, it was manifested as migraine headaches of increasing duration and certainly increasing frequency. Also, just some strange clicking sounds in my joints, some joint pain, because it impacts your digestion. So over time, a lot of people will they'll start having like leaky gut or
Crohn's
IBS.
disease. Yeah.
Crohn's disease has a genetic component, so that's quite different from IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And it doesn't have to be full-on irritable bowel syndrome, but you could have gut problems. Maybe memory issues, or just a constant crankiness, things that didn't used to bother you. You could have hearing loss issues. So a lot of people have never been tested for heavy metal toxicity.
No.
And it's easier to scoff at something if you have not personally been tested, if you personally do not understand it, or if you've never personally been taught about what this is. But it is something that I would encourage anyone who works in industry, anyone who has a history of maybe at least 4 amalgam fillings from their childhood. If they eat a lot of shellfish, a lot of seafood, a lot of tuna, a lot of larger saltwater
Mercury.
fish, they might want to get tested. There's a guy at our office who had put himself on an all seafood diet, for example. And so we encouraged him to maybe consider getting a heavy metals test. Not to disrespect his diet, but to say, do you appreciate what you're ingesting every day? Because you get it from a lot of sources.
Is he a little crazy?
No, he's not. I will
just
say he's
kidding.
intense,
I'm
but
just
he's
kidding.
very smart man.
Yeah.
But it turns out he did have
Mercury
very
poisoning.
high
High levels,
mercury.
wow.
So then you can get it out, and that's a whole process, and there's a lot of debate about how you get it out if you find that you have a high level.
Well, in a little bit, let's talk about detoxing from heavy metals in a minute.
Sure.
Some natural ways, naturopathic ways too. But back to you're saying with the mercury poisoning and some of the symptoms that you just listed, which were fantastic. But one of the things is it affects mercury metal. Of course, most metals affect your neurological system, and neurological system could be how you're thinking. Would you contribute to some metal poisoning to attention deficit?
Yes, actually, they do think that there is a connection to autism, ADD, ADHD, and that whole umbrella, Asperger's, that whole umbrella. But there's other factors as well. There's these types of problems are difficult to cure because I do think in a lot of cases they're multifactorial.
Gotcha. Well, it makes sense, and why wouldn't they be? Because we're getting metal toxification from everywhere, from the sky, the land, the sea, from our teeth, from their vaccines. So it just seems overwhelming of heavy metals, and so it seems it's inevitable that dentistry goes integrated because why pile on to the problem, right?
It is inevitable. Everything in medicine is going to go integrative. I've just completed a 2-year integrative medicine fellowship where it was a compilation of all kinds of doctors, and some of them may be listening, all kinds of doctors from acupuncturists, DOs, naturopaths, MDs, chiropractors. I happen to be the dentist in the program. And there's more coming after me.
Wow,
We happened to be in first class, but
leading the way. I love it.
this is the future. It's also looking at energy medicine. All of these things impact everything else. Every little bit. You have a tree of healthcare, and you don't have dentistry way over here on a far off branch. It's an integral part of that healthcare system.
So isn't that a fundamental issue? That's my big concern too. And being kind of a problem solver or a pragmatist, an entrepreneur, always thinking of how to make things simplified and make it work. It seems like, I don't know why it happened, but we've created 2 different types of care. We have dentistry, and then you have the medical field, or the medical doctors, the family doctors, the specialists, right? Specialists. It's like they separated two fundamental industries that really need to be communicating, because as a dentist, you may be offering a solution that will handle the tooth issue, whatever it may be, but it also may be causing more harm to the rest of the body. But you're not allowed to know all that because you had a different type of training than everyone else. Same thing in the medical field.
I think we can break this down. And
all right.
One of the things that a few years ago I realized, I couldn't believe it. I had this. It was for me this big revelation, and I don't know how many others out there have seen this, but I was at something for my fellowship, and we had this whole class because we were going to be doing a project that we would present to like Mayo Clinic, right? And they were talking about PubMed. Everybody in the room, PubMed, and I'm the only dentist. And I finally had to raise my hand, and I said, I feel like an absolute ignoramus. What is this PubMed? And everybody looked at me, right? And it's their.
When you go to the pub and you have a drink because you're just tired of doing the routine. Is that PubMed?
No, apparently
okay.
that isn't. It's the big Google database for medical research publications that have been published anywhere. Now, if I go in there, I am not going to find an American Dental Association article on PubMed. I might find a periodontal journal on PubMed, but I can't cross-reference. So we have been kept separate in terms of our libraries of thought, which is a huge issue. Like you just said, when I want to recommend what is going to be best for your heart, when you're the cardiologist and you want to recommend what is going to be best for the person's teeth, and that's why we need so much more coming together. It's such an important topic of coming together and sharing information, not in an egotistical way, but because the patient's going to benefit ultimately.
That's the whole point of integrative medicine, functional medicine. It's the wholeness. You got to take the whole person, and I'm not even talking about the spiritual and the emotional yet. I'm just talking just the physical part. I mean, you have two distinct industries now that are separate that have to really combine their superpowers to heal the person on a whole level, because we just said, if the teeth are the dentistry, are the control panels of our organs. So if you remove a tooth that affects your liver or affects your heart through the meridian flow of that on energetic medicine we're talking about, then you're into this other doctor's area and they're into yours. So it's like you almost have to have a program going forward that's going to have to cross-train dentists or integrate dentists and cardiologists, specialists, whoever else, whatever, family doctors, to really learn of everything on both sides.
You really need to have a working understanding of both sides. And not only that, like in our area, at least 13 years ago when I had a daughter born, I was being told that a third of the kids in my area being born over at North Fulton Hospital their parents were immigrants. We have taken in so many people in our country, which is wonderful in some ways, but where they come in with a whole other collection of memory and how you do things, and we want to learn and benefit from what they know. Right. Our way is not always the best way or the only way, and what works for one patient may not work for the next patient. So to integrate, to bring together all these schools of thought, it can be really a beautiful result for the patient. So here in Roswell, we started this past year, I helped to start an integrative medicine, like sort of a study club, but it's really just a mixer where we can meet each other and find out who that acupuncturist is down the street, or who the naturopath is over there, who's into herbs, who knows about herbs, so that when I have a patient come in who is seeking that out, if it's something I don't know about, I can hopefully better connect them.
Who started this?
I started it.
You started this. What's it called?
Well, I don't know that we really have a title yet. I think we're just calling ourselves the Roswell Integrative Medical Mixing Group. We don't have a formal name. We're just trying to grow. We've only met
with the purpose of sharing and understanding all different angles.
And there's no membership, and no one's allowed to advertise because we don't want
compromise on your
exactly.
the truth.
We just want to know people and connect people. I'm from here, and it used to be very small. You'd go to the store and you'd run into people, and that still does happen to me because of what I do. But the thing is, you used to know the guy down the street, and now we're so large. This could be done anywhere, though, not just a small place. We're not small anymore. This could be done anywhere. And what if you had a movement of, in every community, every locale, people getting together just to meet? Wouldn't a patient love that? Then they go to see the guy and they know the eye doctor that would, personality-wise or value-wise or knowledge-wise, maybe match up with that person's background.
You already have a system in place. I think it's still in place, but if you could just piggyback with them, because you could start the Roswell chapter, but you could then create other cities chapters, and it's called Meetup. You could have a meetup where you just have this, and then it's already a format set in place where they communicate in a group. I don't know how it works anymore. I did it for a little while.
I've been on Meetup too for a hiking group that a cousin of mine runs, but this is
I don't they allow this type of
I think
stuff,
this might initially start out word of mouth, because you have to get the other doctors interested. You have to have a personal connection. I think that's going to pull them into it, because a lot of us are really, really busy people, and it doesn't mean we don't want to know something. We may not just appreciate it's new, it's foreign, and when something is new and foreign, I think a lot of us are less likely to jump onto something.
Absolutely, and I think it's brilliant. I'm so glad you're doing this, and it's so needed not only in Little Roswell here, but it's needed in every city in Georgia. In fact, in every city in the states,
Yeah.
in every state. So, so let's continue this, and I love that. So, is just real quick, and we'll talk about it later on. Is anybody, if anybody who's listening wants to get in touch with you to join this unnamed, unmembership group, doesn't really exist, what can they do?
Exists.
I'm just kidding.
So I have a new website I'm starting about.
Is this gonna be the Freemasons of dentistry? What are we looking at here? Are you gonna be in the old block building over there
Not
that
at
no
all.
one ever knows what's going on in that? What's going on in that place in Roswell? That's what I want to know.
We're not going to be like that.
All right, good.
So I have a new website I'm building. It's not live yet, but you can email me, and then it will eventually connect you to the website, hopefully in about 2 more weeks.
All right.
I'm working with somebody on that. So my email, the best one would be Amy at Whole Healing. That's WHOLE, Whole Healing dental.com. Amy at wholehealingdental.com.
Great. All right. We'll put that on the website too as well. So this is a passion of yours. When did this like start really becoming, because a lot of doctors and dentists are just, like you said, they're so busy, they're caught in their own thing, they're just taking whatever the practice and standards are and just doing. It takes some extra type of motivation. I assume maybe it was your mercury poisoning, but some type of extra motivation to try to create an environment that incorporates integrated medicine. So where is this motivation coming from?
It's been a lifelong dream of mine. I did have to sort of put it away, tuck it in underneath my jacket.
Most docs do.
When I entered into the dental field, I went to Emory for undergrad, and they do sort of harvest or try to bring about, help people manifest individual thought processes. And it was a vision I had as a young person that I wanted to offer something that would really help people. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. And then, like you said, you do oftentimes sort of hit, I think, a wall. As a parent, I had some things I was trying to work with my children.
And by the way, that's a full-time job in itself because she doesn't have one child. How many children do you got?
We have 5.
5.
We have 4 girls and
nice,
a boy.
nice Irish girl from New York. I assume there. 5 children, right?
No, I have a French, Western European background.
Right. Just kidding.
I know. So we, you try things with your kids, and when something doesn't work, you try something else.
You got 4 more to experiment on, All right, we lost
Unfortunately,
that
there's a
one.
bit of
We got 4 more. I'll get it better next time. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
We got another chance here. So I wanted to try some things with them, and we found that if I took them grocery shopping, they were much more likely to eat healthy, for example. And I remember one mom, my oldest daughter in preschool, said, wrote on, what's your favorite food? And she said salad. And I had like multiple people asking me, how'd you get her to eat salad? And I was like, well, she just goes grocery shopping, and she likes other things too that aren't salad-like. But it's just been a lifelong thing about learning. My dad had us gardening when we were young people, and you start learning and having an appreciation, I think, about where your food comes from. Being exposed to the farmer's market by my mom when I was little, and then finding that conventional isn't working for you personally. And I was that patient for a short while where I was going from doctor to doctor and being told I was fine.
This is what, before you realized you had mercury poisoning?
Right.
Okay.
And then I ended up in an integrative doctor's office. And, when you fill out a health questionnaire and maybe you kind of get sort of the gist of where this is going because you realize the questions are sort of categorized. And after I answered pretty much a 9 or a 10 or a yes or a definite on all the things that were related to heavy metal poisoning, I thought, well, maybe there's something to this. And then sure enough, and there's a whole debate about how you would get tested, and a urine test is better than a blood test to find out if you have a chronic issue. And there's multiple labs around the United States that can run that panel for someone. And then how do you get rid of it? There's a lot of ways. And I think, too, looking at these genomic SNPs, SNPs, that stands for single nucleotide protein. Those are gene morphisms, polymorphisms that a lot of our population has. They're abbreviated SNPs. We can look at that through a salivary test. The psychiatrists around were some of the first to embrace this. They're oftentimes the earlier adapters to new trends in medicine. And now a lot of doctors are promoting this, and I find I can do it too because I'm a dentist. I work with saliva. That's something that's familiar with me. So it's
Probably a little too much, you know.
it's a simple swab on a Q-tip, and a couple of weeks later, it also was done through 23andMe for a while, so it was over the counter for a while, but they took it away. But the point of that is, if you can facilitate what might be holding you back on a metabolic pathway level, that facilitates how you detox. And now you can throw in some natural ways to detox, or maybe you go full on with something called chelation.
Chelation, yes. In fact, when we get back from our first break, let's talk about some of the solutions, and from chelation to other natural homeopathic ways that you're learning at
Sure,
this
Tim.
point. But also, I want you to pose a question to you. You know, they always said in the past the dentists had the highest suicide rate. Would you think there's any correlation between the suicide rate and mercury poisoning?
We'll talk about that.
We'll be right back with Dr. Amy Darius
Thank
here in Roswell. Reach her at amy@wholehealingdental.com. We're right back. Don't miss it. All right, we are back with Dr. Amy Darius, a local dentist here in Roswell, and happens to be my dentist too. And I tell you, I just feel so comfortable going there. Outside of they have the best gum in town, you know, that's they never have enough for me, but you know they have best gum in town, which I love. But wonderful stuff. She's integrating her dentistry office and her dentist office, and also you're seeing this across the board, aren't you? Another dentist. Not
I
only in
am
Georgia.
seeing it more and more across. I've found in just the last 2 or 3 years there have been several other professional organizations for dentists or that welcome dentists to start to put their sign up and welcome people and have conventions and other meetings. I just heard about another one this morning, which is cool. But one of the most well-known ones so far that seems to be more widely accepted than others would be AOSH. Another is IAOMT.
What is that?
AOSH is let's see, Academy of, I'm gonna get it wrong.
Well, that's all right, but it's
Oral Systemic Connections, something like that.
Okay.
AOSH, AAOSH. I didn't get the acronym just right, but
still,
it
it's
can
out
be
there.
Googled.
It actually
it's out there,
exists, you
right?
know?
And then IOMT is International Association of Oral Medicine and Toxicology, and they have been around the longest. They were founded in about, I want to say 1978. But then it's interesting too, between certain groups, you have like this fighting between this group and that group. So I'm hoping that I can be part of that bridge between the groups and say, you know, everybody kind of wants the same thing.
Right.
Just how we get to it, we can kind of forgive what we used to think because that was old information, and now we have new information. And we just do the best we can a day at a time. And it's okay to date what we knew because things change.
Right. Well, and that's inevitable. I mean, just our beliefs alone. I mean, just take into account that however we believe right now most likely will be different in 5 years from now. Well, certain aspects, you know. I'm not saying you change your personality, which changes probably about 5% in a lifetime, but your beliefs change, and it changes through growth and through awareness, through awakening, through being open-minded and learning the new information coming in. I mean, just what if it's true, which I believe it is, that your appendix is the brains of your lymphatic system? Then maybe we shouldn't just take them out just so needlessly, right? Maybe we should think about, you know what, let me try to cure this inflammation of the appendix rather than just taking it out. So I think that's where I think we are realizing the barbaric way of cut and prescribe, of only using that model as our only medical model. And I think people are moving towards the integrative process because the cut and prescribe and burn should be the last final resort after you tried everything else, rather than a first line of healthcare.
I think that comes, though, also through an understanding that it's never too late. I was speaking to a girlfriend of mine the other day whose husband has diabetes, and they were considering amputation.
Ugh.
And it's very difficult to sit back and say nothing, or just say, I can say a prayer for you, because I do think that does help.
Absolutely.
I believe in that, but it's never too late. But a lot of times people are like, no, it's too late. But it's okay. Like, I could teach my kids. I was talking to her about the salivary test, for example. I want to help more people have access to this kind of care. It doesn't need to have this perception of it being for the elite or for people that have a lot of money. A lot of these things can be learned about with our wonderful internet. I do have a lot of people try things about that they find on the internet, and those don't always work. But that's another reason why going to the dentist, if it's a preventative appointment, it doesn't cost a lot. It comparatively speaking, a woman often might spend just as much having her hair done, if she gets the full-on service,
Listen,
as she does get a preventative dental appointment. Or if you could fill up your gas tank several times, you have easily paid for a preventative dental appointment. Then there's a fear factor. We've scared a lot of people, understandably, so over the years. But if you can tell your dentist how you feel about things, I think a lot of times you'll find more and more dentists are offering a space for that. It was really refreshing going to the American Dental Association this year, and they had like yoga being offered as classes for
No
dentists.
way. Are
I
you
am
serious?
It blew me away. I was
Wow.
surprised and happily surprised.
Yeah.
But we are finding out, and there's becoming a much greater respect for things like yoga and how that can help people manage chronic low back pain, as well as like post-cancer pain, surgical pain, all kinds of pain, for example.
Are you finding that this movement, I guess you could say movement, or this awakening in the dentistry industry is more of a ground up process? That's what you're seeing, that because you're seeing patients now saying, "Hey, I'd like to have
Yes,
this type
I
of
will
experience."
say that because the patients have inspired me to go further. Probably 15 years ago, I had people asking me, Amy, why don't you look into this holistic dental stuff? And they'd bring me literature. You have to be ready. You have to have time to go and get educated, and also kind of unburden yourself of things that paradigms that were drilled into you, that this is the only way.
Yeah.
It's a difficult process. It is from the ground up, but when you keep hearing about it from people and you keep seeing how people self-empower and change their own life, it's not something you can ignore. It's not something you can scoff at anymore. And then when you hit a wall or you have things that you need another answer for, I think everyone in time will find the way that there's so many toxins now, and our lifestyles are so hectic and maybe not really geared up for our emotional, what we have genetically, emotionally right now. I think people will more and more feel comfortable just checking it out. And that's what I would like to see change in my industry. I would like to see, and what I'm trying to do in my industry is bring about letting dentists know that our patients need a space to talk about the things that they are doing on their own. And then, like you said earlier, we actually need a working knowledge. And we didn't get that in school. So what I want to do is help bring that about with other dentists. Talk about the topics that we weren't taught about. Show them where the evidence-based research is. Show them where those PubMed studies are that say, actually, yeah, this actually works.
Well, listen, anytime those type of libraries, PubMed, when certain mainstream boards are not involved in that, then that's probably a good place to go for truth. But that's just my opinion. So back to why these is there a correlation between the high suicide rate in dentistry and mercury poison?
That's a good question.
You think there is? I mean, I'm not going to put you on the spot because I have no idea. I just thought about that.
Snopes debunked that, so to speak,
Snopes.
several years ago.
Snopes need to be debunked. Snopes is Snopes and Wikipedia. Those are two CIA operated. Do not watch them anymore.
I don't agree with Snopes.
Yeah.
I know of some that have. Some of my colleagues have committed suicide over years. I think if you have heavy metals, and a lot of dentists are going to, and if they say they haven't, I ask them, have you been tested? And I haven't had anyone say that they have been tested yet. So I think that when you have a toxic level of something you don't even know about, it does affect how you feel, and you will feel not so happy.
Listen, we're being heavy metals are being bombarded every day with, not just through our mercury.
You get it through a lot of things in your diet. Also, a lot of chemicals like PCBs, like farm-raised fish and PCBs, that you can't just get rid of. Those have a half-life, I think, of like 70 years. Wow. We get a lot of toxins that we didn't used to have through our food and through our water sources. Fulton County failed the water testing 2 times, 2 quarters in the last 3.5 years. Did you hear about that?
No,
All right.
Really. Well, that's great news. In fact, maybe we could have somebody on do a show on that, Wahid, specifically about our county water, because I'll tell you what, I'm all about getting fluoride out of the water, especially in Roswell. So a question for you, I just think, one thing for the dentist, I would say, I'll say I'm not a dentist, but if you are a dentist out there and you are not feeling good about yourself, go get tested for mercury poisoning. What's the big deal? I mean, you're around it every day. We know it. You have to enclose it and you have to handle it very specially, right? And we already know about the Mad Hatter's disease, so just don't pull your head out of the sand and take a look and see what you got, and then you could maybe feel better about yourself. So, with that being said, let's talk about some of the natural healing techniques that you're using either in your dentistry or you're learning about in herbs or ozone therapy, things like that. What are you finding that you're really excited about to bring into your dentistry services?
Well, I send home people nowadays oftentimes with a shopping list of things they can go buy, and where they buy that, I'll suggest some stores, some places nearby. But a lot of times I'll talk to them about eating differently, maybe eating more foods that contain prebiotics, for example. There's some toothpaste even that have prebiotics in them.
Is prebiotics same thing as probiotics?
No, it's different. So prebiotics are like if you're a neighborhood developer and you build a neighborhood that has this awesome swimming pool and playground, it's going to attract probably families with young children, and they'll be willing to pay that premium to get in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that is like prebiotics to your diet, that playground. If you eat certain foods, they're going to create sort of a home place that certain types of bacteria really thrive in, and those types of bacteria are the ones that you want to populate you.
Bacteria and parasites, because I'm full of them all, yeah.
So we are finding out more and more that we have 7 different microbiomes in our body. The mouth is one of them, and about half of the bacteria in your mouth is also in your colon, in your gut.
Wow.
So we are finding out that there's a strong connection between a lot of pathways because of what lives in your mouth. What lives in your mouth, what lives in the rest of your body, they are actually smart. They actually can grow, they can change, they can morph, they can colonize, and they influence how you think and how you store fat and how you process sugar. And in your gut, they process what you're going to let into your bloodstream and contribute to like leaky gut developing. In your mouth, the type of bacteria you have, certain strains will cause gum disease, certain strains will cause cavities, only certain strains do those things. Other strains will increase, for instance, your nitric oxide level. Nitric oxide is a pathway that we really didn't know much about.
That's what the laughing gas.
No, so this is different. Laughing gas is called nitrous oxide. This is nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a gas, and you make it constantly and you use it up, you burn it up constantly. You can't really store a gas in your cells, but it is made by the endothelial lining cells of your blood vessels, and your blood vessels have to constantly make this. So how much you have, you can do a salivary test to see how much nitric oxide you have. How much you have is a direct correlation with how well your body is working with its cardiovascular disease. You need to be making constant amounts of nitric oxide. In other countries, like in Britain, we always make fun of British teeth, but in the UK, they have a policy about mouthwash use and the nitric oxide pathway. Patients that have certain autoimmune issues, such as Sjogren's syndrome, they're very much discouraged by certain other governments in Europe about using mouthwash. We need a policy here in the United States.
Because mouthwash is killing our good bacteria?
Mouthwash
or our bad bacteria that's good for us?
Mouthwash will indiscriminately kill bacteria. Different brands of mouthwash will kill different amounts. So a prescription mouthwash should really be only used for a short period of time. If your dentist prescribes it, for example, it's going to be much harsher in terms of the chemicals. But even things like some of our most popular, I don't want to say certain brands, but some of our most popular.
I can say because I use Tom's brand. Am I safe with that?
I would say any alcohol or any phenol based type of mouthwash, it's you don't really need it on a regular basis. If you clean and you clean your teeth, the chemicals you use in your mouth, whether it's a toothpaste or a mouthwash, that's not what's giving you your main action of cleaning your teeth. It's your brushing. It's brushing the bacteria off, but you want to be careful treating things with chemicals. And that makes sense if you're talking about your skin. It's really the same thing if you extend it into your mouth. Yeah,
because that's where, like you said, half your bacteria is, and our bacteria. Bacteria has such a negative connotation to it, but our bacteria is what we need. Like our good bacteria, when you take antibiotics, it kills your good bacteria and your bad bacteria. But even the bad bacteria has a purpose where it takes out a lot of the metal toxins too, you know? So, I mean, there's all different types of bacteria and at different phases of it. So you have to be careful with
that. The bacteria strongly influence your immune response. And you always are in we are in a symbiotic relationship with whatever lives inside us.
Parasites, bacteria, all those nasty things, they're your friends.
So a lot of these dietary trends that happen, and taking probiotics. Those sorts of things are to try to seed you with better types of bacteria so that you feel better and live better and have more energy. So this nitric oxide pathway that I keep going back to, 25% of what your body makes is actually from the food, from the bacteria in your mouth. So you don't want to use mouthwash anymore like we used to think it was okay.
Yeah.
And you want to eat a lot of green leafy vegetables. And then these SNPs I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
these single nucleotide polymorphisms,
Say
they
that
may
3 times fast. Good, yeah.
SNPs, SNP,
Yeah.
that influences how well you absorb things like these nutrients from your diet.
Is that a prebiotic or no?
No.
No. Okay.
Okay, so what I mentioned earlier before the break was you can actually have a salivary test done, or if you did 23andMe more than 5 years
Is that
ago.
that box I got from you? Is that no?
No, that's
different.
something different.
Okay.
We can talk about that too.
Okay.
That's different. This is a salivary swab that will identify you for up to 55 different gene SNPs, and that tells you how well you absorb certain types of nutrients. It tells you how well, it's almost like a whole bunch, like 8 or so different bicycle gears turning together. And when one of your gene SNPs isn't working well, it's not functioning well, a lot of times these are revolving around enzymes, it stops the whole pathway. It's like throwing a wrench in the gear, and it stops it. And it doesn't just stop that one, it stops the ones adjacent to that. And one of the ones further on down the line is your energy. Your foundation of ATP. And I think everybody took like Krebs cycle.
Mitochondria, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It has to do with your mitochondrial responses. It has to do with your detoxing because of enzyme pathways. Mercury likes sulfur. And
So does Satan, I think, too. You know, just
a lot of your enzymes revolve around sulfur. They're sulfuric based. Yeah. I was a chemist before I was a dentist, so this is a lot of
What
chemistry.
haven't you done? Mother of 5, dentist, chemist. You know,
No,
I mean, my goodness.
It's this is
Organizing their own group. I mean, come on.
this is in science.
Talk about paradigm shifting here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So what do I like in the way of things? I talk to people about eating differently. I like to talk about with them different diets, and maybe the pros and cons of different diets. I really enjoy suggesting certain vitamin protocols for some of these people. Magnesium is something a lot of Americans are deficient in, and I find a lot of people that grind their teeth, they may be magnesium deficient. If I get them to take an over-the-counter, like 400 milligrams, for example, of magnesium citrate or glycinate before they go to bed, a lot of times they sleep better. It's nothing that's addictive. It's about $6 for a 2-month supply. 85% of Americans, they think, are magnesium deficient.
Yeah.
Magnesium also influences how you absorb calcium, so it's going to be good for, generally speaking, for heart patients as well, or diabetic patients. It's going to help facilitate some of these enzyme pathways I was referring to. It's kind of a win-win for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
So when people come in anymore and they've been grinding their teeth, to me it's not enough to say, oh, I can sell you a bite guard. Let's look at what you're eating. Let's look at your lifestyle habits. And that's part of the package. And it instills value in the appointment. The patient walks away with a list of things they can be doing, not just some product that I want to sell them. They can try over-the-counter remedies, which are going to positively affect their whole body. Then if they still need my bite guard, they know where to find me.
And hence, that's integrative dentistry right there. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll get back with Dr. Amy Dairies. We're going to talk further about some solutions that she's using, not only in a dentistry office, but in her personal life as she experiments on her children. So we'll be right back with Dr. Amy Dairies. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm kidding. We'll be right back with Dr. Amy Dairies. You reach her at Amy at wholehealingdental.com. Right back. All right, we are back with Dr. Amy Dairies, Amy at wholehealingdental.com. And what's your office called?
I have a partner, Tori Calicut, so we are Calicut and Dairies. We have been family and cosmetic dentistry, but we are renaming ourselves to aesthetic and integrative dentistry in Roswell.
Oh, my goodness. Are you serious? When are you guys doing this?
We are in the process right now.
Oh, wow.
We've been doing this for about 6
so
months.
partners on board enough to change, right? To change it. Excellent. Wow, that's great. That's wonderful. What a modeling. And one thing I want to say about your children is I met a portion of the children. Of course, it's hard to find all 5 at one time. They're wonderful. In fact, you're modeling. When you take your child to the supermarket with you, the best way to influence somebody's behavior is through modeling. And you don't have to say anything. It's a learning moment that's going to happen automatically because they're around you. So when you have good behavior or making good decisions, your children are modeling everything that you're doing without you even have to do any work or even say anything to them. So that's really the best influence of raising children, in my opinion. And it sounds like you've done a wonderful job. So,
Thank you.
all right.
That's how I was raised.
See, look at that. See that? You need to
Thanks,
perpetuate
Mom and
that.
So,
So let's go back to some more healing things you're doing. Like, what's this ozone therapy you're hearing about all the time?
okay, ozone therapy. It's hard to find. It's also hard sometimes to find great information and to find normal studies or these wide range studies. But it is something that has been used in different other parts of medicine to generate more oxygen in certain tissues. The gram-negative bacteria that are generally speaking more harmful to a lot of different biological processes do not thrive in an oxygen-rich environment. So ozone therapy has been used for more than 30 years, trying to use it to bring about more oxygen in certain areas of the body. And there are some dentists who use it in the mouth. This is something that's still new for me. So,
Right, sure. Well, one of the things, like, I talk to different doctors, they're not even dentists, like Dr. Cowden, he talks about the wisdom teeth, and how automatically our first, it's like the appendix. Just take the appendix out. You don't need it. Just take the wisdom teeth out. You don't need it. I mean, I guess they're called wisdom for a reason. I guess that's why we have the first generation who's not smart enough as the last generation because we took the wisdom teeth out. I mean, what is going on? But each wisdom tooth has its own meridian to its own part of the body, too.
I'd like to say something else about wisdom
Yeah,
teeth.
go ahead.
So our thinking 25 years ago when I was in school was a lot of times we didn't have room for it. Genetically, this was our path. It's inevitable. We need to take a lot of these out. It is still appropriate sometimes, but what we have also found, there is a study that shows most of our jaw growth happens between the ages of 2 and 4 years old. If these young mothers who have these young children, these toddlers, if they could be feeding them instead of soft things like applesauce or these awful go-go squeezy things and things, if they could give them some beef jerky, give them some raw vegetables, carrots, celery to gnaw on, that stimulates jawbone growth. And that's one of the best things that moms can do for young children to set their jaws up to hopefully minimize orthodontic problems. It seems that about 3 generations after people have come here to the States, some of the research shows that is when we have the ultimate horrific mouth in terms of spacing issues. Immigrants, when they first get here, they eat what they ate in their homeland, and I used to think it was because maybe they were genetically less boggled up than a lot of us American mutts are. But we think it seems to have to do with a hard diet.
Wow, back to the diet. Everything goes right back to the diet, doesn't it?
Right.
Would you say, I don't know, what percentage would you put on the diet, not only for your healing and just in health in general, but also for dental problems?
Well, I say 10% of it is probably genetic, only 10%.
Okay.
And the rest of it is going to be what you're exposed to, either through diet or environment.
Wow.
And so I'd say 90, maybe as much as 90% in some cases, in most cases.
And outside of you, I'd never been to a dentist's office ever mentioning the word diet. They felt like, it would be intrusive in your life, I mean, I don't know why that's not more common.
So we find that when kids have this jawbone growth, they have room for their wisdom teeth. Which would make sense. You were born with it.
Sure,
you got this. So somebody thought that there would be room to put this in your mouth too.
So this behavior of dentistry, basically developed on removing your wisdom teeth all at one time, or whatever, was based on having a very soft diet as a kid, and you never really stimulated your teeth, or potentially never stimulated your teeth to really solidify.
You have a way of summarizing things in a more hardcore sort of way than I do, but
Of
that
course.
might have had something to do with it.
Yeah.
The diet as a younger person. It also, there's a study that shows if you have an injury where you might have sustained a concussion, that if you had your wisdom teeth still in your head, where they were functioning, mind you, that they almost act like airbags because those end up being sort of in the middle of your skull.
Right.
So it'd be really nice if we had room for them.
And how about doing studies for it, dentists and doctors, and let's find out. Let's have a new thing. Save the wisdom teeth. We'll have a little one of those big one of those big groups and save the wisdom teeth. Have a little song. Have all the guys come together. Save the wisdom teeth. I just think there's I just don't like you just discarding human nature and our biology and like the junk DNA. we're realizing how important the junk DNA is, finally, that it's these triggers and control panels for creating new DNA that's never seen before in your body. And for decades, we just ignored the junk DNA and only focused on the protein DNA. It's like, my God, wow! It's God did not just put everything there for no reason, right? Let's just fall back on that first. Well, it's there for a reason, so let's not mess with it until we know why, right? Would that be a good way of living life?
Might be a good way
Might
to live
be.
life.
Yeah,
Something to try.
Something to try.
Something to think about.
Right. Okay, we got a couple minutes left, Doc. Let's
Okay,
just.
so I like fish oil. You asked what I like.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like fish oil a lot for most people. You want to buy a high-grade fish oil that's got higher EPA fatty acids to DHA that stimulates brain growth. It's excellent for children. You could actually get a liquid fish oil and mix it with maybe a little bit of some Greek yogurt as an after-school snack, and I am serious.
Right.
And they have lemon flavor. You don't taste the fish oil, you taste the lemon flavor.
Right.
And actually, my kids really do like it.
Right.
I am serious.
Okay.
That's something else I tell people about. I think most people should be on fish oil. Especially, it prevents a lot of cardiovascular problems if you're on dosages as high as 3,000 to 4,000 units a day. They found that it helps reverse your LDL, which some people refer to as bad cholesterol. It lowers it by as much as like 30%. A lot of fish oil is excellent.
What else?
That's something. What else do I
Just
like?
just raw food. I mean, what's your diet like?
We try to eat a lot of raw. We do try to eat a lot of raw foods, and more, I think the concept of eating seasonally is very helpful. Seems like fruits encourage your body to store a little bit more fat, or store things a little bit more as fat. And traditionally we ate a lot more fruits in the summertime, gearing up for wintertime when we might want a little bit of extra fat on ourselves. Right. You're going to find your foods to have the highest nutrition when they are fresh, or if they've been flash frozen. Yeah. But I think eating seasonally and eating a lot of raw vegetables is very helpful. I would stay away from grains. We grow most of our food conventionally here in the U.S. with certain strains of grains that are going to have a lot of chemicals like glyphosate, like Roundup, in them that has been shown to be a probable carcinogen.
Yeah, I think the UN just came out and said it is, but I don't think America has.
To go with what we say in America.
Yeah,
but I encourage people to eat more raw vegetables and then some fruits. Yeah. The gluten problem may be kind of under an umbrella of more than that, called a lectin issue.
Well, I mean, there's so much we need to be getting into. And we have to have you come back too, Doc, to go over more of the routine, because I think the diet is, like you said, is everything, and dentistry, and you're changing dentistry as we speak. Not only the name of your dentistry, but you're changing it through speaking and sharing, and there's people out there going to hear you, and they're gonna change other people too. And so I just want to thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you so much. I am going to be speaking more. American Dental Association's accepted me to come give a speech in October on holistic measures in dentistry, and also about integrative measures in dentistry.
All right.
So thank you very much for having me today. I enjoyed it.
Listen, thank you guys. Enjoy, and hope you enjoyed this too. Play it back, listen to what she said. It's wisdom, and save the wisdom teeth. Huh? Let's do that out there. Let's make a movement going. All right, thank you guys. You can reach her at amy@wholehealingdental.com. Thank you very much. We have another show coming up. The Psychic Soup's up in here in a half hour. You enjoy that with Beth. I think I'll be on that one too. She's Skyping in. All right, we'll see you all later. Take care. Have a great day.